When you try to do everything, you often fail to do at least some of those things well. And the RitFit leg press hack squat combo is no exception. There are some negatives here, but there are some positives here as well. I think this is a great machine for the right person and a not so great machine for other people. Let's start with the positives. Hack squat. I love it. This thing absolutely roasts my quads in the best way possible. It hits just right. So we're off to a really, really good start. There are definitely some pros here, especially when it comes to the hack squat. It does have a fairly decently sized foot plate for hack squat. It could be a little bit bigger, but considering the price point, it's pretty decently sized. So happy with that. The texture could also be a little bit better. RitFit uses a very slick powder coat, so you want to make sure that you're not hopping up here with dusty feet so that your feet don't slide while you're in the middle of squat. That would be quite bad. But I mean, if you have clean shoes and you keep the platform clean, you're gonna be fine. It has a pretty good range of motion. So for me, 6 foot tall, and when I go all the way down to the bottom, it just bottoms out. When I am at full depth, hamstrings to calves, it just touches at the bottom. But overall, for a combo machine, I'm pretty happy with the depth here. Another thing that could use some improvement, the shoulder pads. If you're doing lighter weight, higher rep sets, not so bad. If you're going heavier weight, lower rep sets, it does dig in a bit. It's not unbearable. It's not the most uncomfortable hack squat machine that I've used. There are definitely more uncomfortable ones that I've used before, but it's just mildly uncomfortable. And that is a way that they could accomplish allowing for greater depth as well, because if you make this padding thicker, that's gonna mean this stands up a little bit higher when it's sitting on your shoulders, and then that's gonna give you an extra inch or 2 inches at the bottom. Again, those inches matter. And by the way, if you're new around here, my name is Ryan Treadaway, founder of TreadawayTraining.com, where we help busy parents transform their bodies from the comfort of their own home. If you're new, consider subscribing. Now, that's the good. There's unfortunately some bad here as well. So let's get into it. As I mentioned, if you try to do multiple things, you're gonna do at least one of them poorly most of the time. And where this machine falls short is in the leg press functionality. Now, as far as how it works, very simple. Pull a pin, pull the pad, flip the pad, put the pin back in, then you reach under here, pull the pin, lift the plate, and you're in leg press mode. Pretty quick, pretty easy. So far, so good, but if you will notice, this is quite the tiny foot plate. Quite tiny. And be careful when you're sitting down. The first time I sat down on this machine, I did not account for the fact that the foot plate is much wider than the back pad. And I sat down real quick and smashed the bejesus out of my elbow. So be careful when you sit down. But as you can see, I can barely even accomplish a shoulder width stance when it comes to the leg press. And to be honest, I know that is a slightly narrower than shoulder width stance. So we're not looking so hot when it comes to the leg press. And frankly, the design just puzzles me. I know that they can't accomplish a large foot plate just because of how the machine is designed, because the foot plate has to fit between the safety catches, but they don't even utilize the space that's there. You could make this, get my handy dandy tape measure. The foot platform is only 18.5 inches wide. It could be at least 23 inches wide. It could be 5 inches wider than it is, which, especially when we're talking about an undersized foot plate, those 5 inches makes a huge difference. And in fact, if they were willing to do a little bit of a redesign, this foot plate could be a non-issue entirely, because all you would have to do is make the safeties a little bit shallower, because to be honest, there's really no need for them to come out so much further than the hooks that's actually being caught. So this could be made shallower so it doesn't stand up as much. And then these brackets that the foot plate mounts to could be made a little bit taller. And then when your foot plate is collapsed all the way down, it's higher than these arms. And so then you're no longer restricted by the arms, and then it can extend as wide as you want it to be. You could take the same size foot plate that's on the bottom, stick it up here, and then we have an absolute winner of a leg press to go along with an absolute winner of a hack squat. Now there is one other drawback when it comes to the leg press, and that is the amount of weight that you can put on this machine, because you only have a single pair of weight horns, and especially if you are using bumper plates, most people are not going to be able to put enough weight for a good challenge. For me, if I'm using bumper plates, you can stack them all the way out to the end, and I'm still just going to be repping out high rep sets, and it doesn't really feel good to buy a piece of equipment knowing that you don't have a lot of room for progression, or depending on where you're at development wise now, maybe no progression right out of the gate. So that is an issue. Now, with that being noted, if you are using iron plates, then you have a lot more wiggle room. The stated weight capacity of this machine is 1,200 pounds. And so if you have plates thin enough that you can put 1,200 pounds on those two sleeves, then you're in a pretty good place, and that complaint pretty much goes away. That's mainly a note for people who are using bumper plates.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm recording a YouTube video. What are you doing?
I'm going to go mommy one push in my helmet.
What? And then he hung up on me. Guess he was done talking. And then we have the worst of the three functions. And you'll notice so far I've only referred to this as a leg press and a hack squat machine. But on the website, RitFit calls it a 3-in-1 machine. They call it a leg press, a hack squat, and a calf raise. I'm calling this a 2-in-1 machine, not a 3-in-1 machine, because as you can see, the way this bar hits the back of your calves here, you cannot sink your feet off the bottom of the platform. It's just not physically possible. And so if you're doing calf raises this way, you're only going to be getting a half range of motion. And over the course of the past year and a half, there's been a whole lot of studies that have come out showing the importance of the bottom half of the range of motion specifically. So you're cutting your gains by more than half by not being able to get the bottom half of that range of motion. Now you can work around it. You can use this bottom bar here for your calf raises, but then your 45-pound plate is in the way and you actually get less than a half range of motion. So then you have to do a workaround for the workaround, and what you have to do is slide your plates out wide enough that you aren't gonna hit the plates, and then that's gonna cut how much weight that you can put on there, especially if you have rubber 45s, bumper plates, and then, and only then, can you get a full range of motion on your calf raises. Now I will say, it does feel pretty good for calves. If you do this double workaround, the size and shape of the bar and where it's placed feels just right for calf raises. So doing the workaround, it works really good as a calf raise machine. But if you have to do a double workaround to be able to use the machine for a specific purpose, can you really say that a core function of that machine is to do that exercise? I would say no. And then just a couple of miscellaneous notes that might be important depending on the person. There are a couple pairs of band pegs. I never use band pegs in my own personal training, but they're there if you do. This machine does use linear bearings, so that is a plus, especially for such a budget end piece of equipment, because a lot of budget pieces of equipment are going to use rollers, and linear bearings almost always are going to feel better than rollers, so that's a plus. And then if you're in a small setup, it is of course important to know the dimensions as well. The length of the machine, if the foot plate is in the farthest setting, is gonna be about 78 inches. And the width of the machine, if you're not utilizing the plate storage, is 41 inches. And if you do have on 45-pound plates, then it's gonna be about 50 inches, give or take, depending on your specific plates that you're using. Now let's talk price and final verdict. The price of the machine, I think, is relatively fair for what you're getting. The machine is normally $7.99, although I have seen it on sale for as low as $500, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then also, there is a coupon code that they gave me for you guys to use, which gives you a certain percentage off that I don't remember. What is that price? Let's find out. 12% off is what you get. And of course, if you do use my link, it does help out the channel as well. And I know I had a lot of criticism for this machine, so you might be surprised to hear me say that this machine has earned a place in the home gym. I'm actually gonna be getting rid of my leverage squat from PowerTech, and I'm gonna be using this in its place because I do like the hack squat portion of the machine specifically that much. So it is gonna be earning a spot in the gym until something better comes around. So if you're out there and you're looking at this as a hack squat machine that will also allow you to do some leg presses, then yeah, I think this is a pretty good purchase. If you're looking at this because you're specifically wanting a leg press, yeah, I would probably save up a little bit more money and get a nicer leg press that's gonna give you a bigger foot platform and more weight horns for more weight. And I think you're gonna be a lot happier and be glad that you saved the money up. Huge shout out to RitFit for sending this out for review. And if you wanna work with me and my team to achieve your body transformation goals, click the link down in the description. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you next week. And the width of the machine, if you're not and the width of the machine, huge shout out. God bless you guys. Andrew, no, I forgot the and your family part. I forgot my own outro. I thought I was gonna be done with that video in like 15 minutes, not 30 minutes.